I mean, how are we supposed to do this when where'd it go? We're
Look,
not
we'll,
live. We're
we'll
not live
figure
on
out those details later. We are live.
E
Monica, what's up?
Dana.
How's it going today?
It's going, it's going. Uh-oh.
We are back at this thing. And first of all, just for intro's sake, I'm Dana Harris, veteran educator, online math tutor, um, unc to everybody's good, bad, and indifferent kids. But I'm here with a great friend of mine, colleague, and also an educator, Monica Black. Monica, introduce yourself to the people, please.
Hey, Monica Black, mother of Dominic and Khalik.
Hey.
Um, Shit starter, chaos, all things good trouble.
Hey,
Math educator, teacher of almost 30 years, and yeah, lots to say.
and we are back. So TTS with Monica and Dane, and today we thought we had a topic, but it appears that we don't. So we are going to have a conversation. Our conversations usually go in a great direction, but the first thing I want to do, wait, before we get into the conversation, if you're watching this live, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. And while you're at it, inside the teacher studio on Instagram, isn't that the Instagram handle?
It is.
Y'all go ahead and follow Monica. If you're watching this, go ahead to Young Gurus underscore math tutoring on Instagram. Follow me as well. And yeah, if you're watching this, definitely subscribe to the Young Gurus Math Tutoring YouTube channel. So first things first, we both went to the school building today, or the schoolhouse as they used to say back in the day. Let's do a quick check-in for a few minutes. How was your day? How are you feeling?
I actually wasn't at the schoolhouse today. I was at an off-campus meeting at the Oakland Education Association, by the way, the office of
Ooh. I wear my shirt proudly every now and then,
right?
and I get questions because, of course, there's no union here in North Carolina. So, um, yeah, I get questions about my shirt, and I proudly say that I was a part of the last, the 2019 strike. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
how was it? Like, how was even in that space today? How are you feeling like after going through the motions and handling the business and the different aspects that come along with just gathering with those union members.
so, it wasn't like I was gathering with union members per se. It was the five, well, there were only four of us today. There are four teachers on special assignment from the Black Thriving Schools Initiative here in Oakland. That just
Okay.
happens to be where we have our one offsite meeting a month. And let's start with the good stuff. I have a great team, and I love that we all have enough experience in education that we all know what a consultancy protocol is. And so
Mm,
we were sharing our progress towards goals and doing an update on our goals as well as sharing a problem of practice. And it's on that problem of practice that we received we went through this consultancy protocol, which really allows the person who's sharing the problem to share, and then the rest of the group asks clarifying questions, and then let's say I was the one doing it, and then I would share, like I would respond to their questions, and then after the questions, the clarifying questions, there is a, I don't know, 5-minute conversation where I just listen and I
hmm
just get them kind of chopping it up about what I'm going through and what kinds of things come up for them. And then I'm taking notes. And at the end of it, then I share my kind of takeaways, right?
uh-huh.
So that protocol, I've used it many times as an instructional coach and in different spaces. And I love it. I love it
hmm
because it really gives the person who is being coached, if you will, or
hmm
being consulted with, an opportunity to hear different perspectives, to clarify their own thinking around what they're presenting as the issue, right?
hmm
And so I love that protocol and I love the exchange. Um, it brought up for me some challenges that I've faced and kind of like an existential crisis right now in my time in education. Every
Uh,
now and then I feel like I need to take a moment. And today was one of those days.
I can definitely relate.
Is it time for me to go?
Question is, do you have your bags packed in a sense?
And truthfully, I really don't want to go because there's something I really love the work that I'm doing. I feel like I can really um, make a difference. And,
Mhm.
there's a lot of challenges. And so I just have to stay the course. But that's how my day went. How about yours?
I actually so my day was really good by choice. I chose to have a good day, and it was a continuation of my day yesterday. I gotta get close to this mic because I keep backing up because I get comfortable. But my day was great yesterday. And the reason why my day was great yesterday, which rolled over in today, was because I was looking at our curriculum and I was looking at what I had to teach. And as I was going through it, in my mind, on one hand, I was doing what sometimes we do as educators and questioning their ability to grasp it. But I started out. So now there's a floater in my room during my first period class. We got a block scheduling 4 classes a day. First period is my planning period. And then so I have classes second, third, and fourth. Well, I started, it's a tough adjustment because somebody's in my space, first block, and there's some kid in there, they're leaving behind an aroma. But that's another story. So anyway, I started teaching yesterday, and by third period, so this is my second class of the day, I'm like, there was this moment where one of the ways that they want us to teach completing the square. That's what we're on, a quadratics unit, right? And so I always remember completing the square one way. And a lot of times as teachers, we teach things the way we were taught it, especially mathematics. And so I worked out all the problems in the workbook my way. And I was like, okay, I'll take tomorrow and learn that other way. Well, by the time third period came, the kids were engaged. And I told them, I said, listen, I feel like Steph Curry right now. Y'all know sometimes Curry, he gets in the zone and anything he throws up goes in. And so, like, that's my day yesterday. So, transitioning into today, I was like, I woke up a little late, but I was like, I still got to at least get some time on the treadmill, get my little mini workout. I'd rather be late than to not work out because that's just what I need um for my peace, my mental health, right? And so today was a good day. Wild day. There were like 3 or 4 fights, including one where the first fight was a young man was fighting a young woman, and I was like, "Whoa! I do not like hearing that." Of course, and then I had the stories to the kids like, "Back in my day, like
Not your
this
day.
would have happened back in my day." You know what I'm saying? And but overall I had a good day. The different challenges that we had a lockdown drill at the beginning of the day. And so we had this emergency staff meeting at the end of the day, but ultimately I had a good day because I chose to have a good day. And that was my thing this week. Like I'm going to, as I tell the kids, there's a mentor online and I cannot think of her last name, but anyway, Val. They call her Auntie Val. And Val always says, "Have an amazing day on purpose." So I've started telling the kids, "Have an amazing day on purpose." And like, I think today was one of those days. Like, I had an amazing day on purpose. So that was my day. And
You know, I love that you bring that up because it is our choice, right?
abs-
It's absolutely our choice. And that's typically how I choose to roll through my day, right? Typically.
mhm, mhm.
And today was just, and I kept trying to stay solution focused and I kept trying to like, um, rose colored glasses. What's the lesson to be learned? Yada, yada, yada.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you can continue to have that mindset and sometimes days are just the way they are.
Yeah, every now and then we have those FTK moments. I'll let people guess what FTK means.
It wasn't even
Every
that
day we have those
great.
FTK moments, and then also, um, like there are moments where sometimes you want to tell the people in the building, like, "Hey, back off, or you're gonna get that other side." And I think that that's okay, because I don't know that people who aren't in the classroom or people who aren't in the profession understand how because they, you hear people and you see on the internet, oh, they get weekends off, they get holidays off, they get spring break, they get all this. And but
We need
people,
all of
I
it.
believe we need all of it, because people don't understand the mental burden that you carry as a teacher in the classroom.
Yep.
And that's extremely important. That's why we're talking about what we have to do for our own mental health and clarity. And
Yep.
so I want more teachers to understand that. Like, that's one of the things that I tell young teachers. I told you my team right now is four of us, and one of the gentlemen, he's older than me, but he just started teaching last year. And the
Mhm.
other two are first year teachers. And so I tell them things like that, like, hey, do what you have to do for your own sanity and for your own mental health, right? I tell them, hey, if you feel like it's time for you to take a day off, totally fine. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, one of my coworkers they had a moment like that, and today another one. I don't know if it was that kind of moment or whatever was going on, but I think that that's important. And so, like I mentioned earlier, that morning workout.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, it changes the trajectory of my day, because I need that time where I can soak in the silence. I can hear my own thoughts.
Yep.
I can challenge myself, because I'm trying to do pull-ups with this 205-pound body that should be about 185. But it's like the first win of the day. So now by the time I get in front of the kids, or even during planning, when I'm in front of my team and we're doing PLC, I have more clarity. I'm able to take my focus off of the negatives and focus on the things that I can control, and focus on the things that I need to do to be prepared for those I don't want to say babies, but for those young people when they come in the room.
Mhm.
Um and I think this is something that needs to be talked about more, because when you've been in education for a while like us, I think that people, after you've made it 5 years these days, you are a vet. You
Right.
you are a vet for sure. But I think that more people need to understand what it takes to really be pouring out of your mental capacity all day long.
Mhm.
We consider, you and I are considered experts in mathematics in regards to teaching and in the classroom, and we can show people a lot of different things and strategies, whether it's dealing with content or whether it is, classroom management, or just the ups and downs of the profession. But I think not enough is said about what it takes for us to go in and try to teach the content while also managing behaviors that come from how people were raised and how they're being raised.
Mhm.
People always talk about common sense. And I started saying this years ago in the classroom: common sense ain't so common.
Right.
For example, what I do with my children and how I raise my children, and the conversations that we have, the things that I allow them to do, the things that I don't allow them to do, or whatnot, is possibly totally different from your sons and how you raise them. You know what I'm saying? And then we have other effects, the other parent and things like that. But we are in the classroom with kids that are being raised by, some of them some of their parents are really old enough to be our children. You know what I'm saying? And so you see how the generations change. And more importantly, I think we see how education, you can easily see from a student, especially if you build a rapport with them, and then you have to communicate with the parents or guardians or whoever they're in the home with. you can quickly see how things aren't as common as they used to be. You can quickly see that we're living in an era where people are doing what they want. Some people are growing up in a home where they might have adults in their home to where it's like, why do you have homework? Shouldn't you have learned this at school? And you were there for 7 or 8 hours, and why do you still have to work on it here? But what are your thoughts about so that brings up the question, what are your thoughts about how you handle challenges like that? Because we see different things in a student, and we can see things that they may not even be able to see, and the adults in their lives may not even be able to see. But what is your thoughts on looking at a young person or young people and what we see they are capable of doing and the potential that they have, and how sometimes the routines and traditions and actions and all of that in their home can be conflicting and almost interfere with their potential. You know what I'm saying?
So I think, where do I go? This just recently came up because, we know our kids have stories. They have lives outside of our school.
Absolutely.
And they absolutely impact the way they come into the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in the pickup line? I don't know if you've ever had to be in the pickup line.
2 years ago, when I first started in Charlotte, Mecklenburg,
Yeah.
my job every day was to be out front in the pickup line, and the things that I saw, oh my goodness. So
So it
yes,
doesn't even have to be about seeing, right? It's like, okay, you're from Oakland. Um, Stuff was legal. Well, before stuff was legal,
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
stuff was
yeah,
happening, right?
yes, exactly,
So you have
exactly.
kids walking in the door, and I'm like, whoo, the party
It
started
was
early.
pungent.
Pungent. Or you open the door in the pickup or the drop off line, and you're like, whoo.
Whoa.
So all this happens, and you don't even really think about it, right? But then recently, there's a student that, or a couple students, right? And I never thought about this, but they come to school, they have their head on the table, they want to go to sleep. I'm so sleepy. And I'm like, you're too young to be so tired. Like,
Right.
you're tired. And I didn't put two and two together, but sometimes, they're trying to sleep off their contact high, right?
Absolutely.
And you try, like, how do I make space for these kids? Because they're not the ones that partook. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And how do I help them, you know, wake up? But it's like, I think the fact that, again, like I said, this is a recent aha, right? And those same students that as soon as they finally sleep off that effect, then they're angry, probably because they're hungry.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Got the munchies.
Yes.
And I'm like, why do you keep coming in here asking for food? So
Right.
I'm like, why didn't you go get the breakfast? I didn't get here in time, or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Or it was trash. That's what they love to say. It's trash. Anyway, so, I think that knowledge and understanding of these things and putting two and two together, you're like, oh, why am I mad at, like, not me, but like, I can only imagine people that have their classrooms, right? Because I'm not a classroom teacher anymore.
Hmm.
I can only imagine the kind of stress of having to teach a young person that is often tardy. So, three tardies makes an absence. They're not really there. But that they're smart.
Right.
Oh, they are. And so, I think that knowledge is one thing. And then, but what do and understanding and holding space for that,
Hmm.
we're lucky if we have that ability, right? Because with
Hmm.
all of the things going on at once, it's hard to necessarily know or to ask, like, what's going on?
Absolutely.
And so, now I have this aha, but now what do I do with that information? Right. So,
Mandatory reporting and all kinds of things.
I'm wondering, is that Like, I don't want to know that that's something I'm supposed to be, man. Like, I don't know that that's something I want to
I
be.
don't I would think that in that case it's not a mandatory reporting issue. I think also even with okay, so now see now we're gonna take a little swerve
I'm
because
like, wait a
even
minute.
with
Should we be talking
even
about this?
right, because even with like mandatory reporting, I think that there are things that you know, in our careers, right, we have had conversations with kids and things have come out, and I think that that can be a slippery slope at times because you know, um, I've seen situations to where it's like, okay, hey, let's end this conversation. I'm gonna send you to speak with someone who is a professional at this because I don't want to know more. You've told me enough, and it's not anything to where I feel like has to be mandatorily reported, but I believe you need to have a conversation with the guidance counselor, an assistant principal, maybe even a principal, because when you talk about things like that, that can be very, very tricky because we can be doing something in the best interest of the child. However, I don't think enough is talked about in regards to the backlash that we could possibly face for certain things. You know, I'm a person that's quick to say, "Hey, whoop, before you go any further, please, nope, I don't want to have that conversation."
Hmm.
Um, but continue. I want to hear the rest of your story because, like you say, that pickup line I've seen some wild things. And my heart goes out for a lot of kids, especially when I was it's different when you're at a middle school or a high school. But when you're at an elementary school and this young 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old young person gets out the car, they've got a bag and it's more in their backpack than
Right,
pencils and books and
right,
scissors and crayons.
right.
You see what I'm saying? And so there are sometimes I believe situations where we have to say, ooh, prime example, like there was a situation when I was at the elementary school. There was a young kid who like his parent put him in a situation to where the principal was like, okay, I have to call law enforcement.
Mhm.
And I'll try to be kind of vague because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Right. I'm like,
But
can I go back and say allegedly? Like, you know what I mean?
allegedly, um, and
A word on
and
street.
even down to like these kids come with a lot of things in their bag, on their shoulders. And I think I learned early on in my career, like, hey, I've seen a certain coworker that I've worked with before, and I totally understood why children didn't like that coworker because of the things that they said, the things that they did. And I grew to be very, very mindful of how I approach certain situations, especially at the beginning of the day. I really, really like the quote that says, "Be curious before being critical." Because if we're curious before we're critical with the different situations with kids, even academics, we can find out information that's like, okay, we're seeing the fruit. So the behaviors that we see is the fruit. There are times where as a teacher, as an educator, you want to get to the root because to your point, what can I say or do to help this young person before something in a sense really really hinders their potential?
Yeah.
At the elementary level, those kids they're a blank canvas. They love to learn. They want to learn. If a kid is in elementary school talking about I hate math, they didn't come up with that. Somebody in their personal life is telling them all of these bad messages
Mhm.
about mathematics.
Right.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
whew.
But again, like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that I actively search out these opportunities to learn and push my practice, I wouldn't have known what trauma informed teaching looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's recent. Like, I took that class when I was in Vancouver. So, what, within the last 2 years? So, I feel like there's so much support that we as educators need, right? We need
Mm-hmm.
so much support, and there's just not enough hours in the day, no, not enough PLC settings to address it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you might focus on one subject area 1 year, and then maybe for a few years, and you make
Mm-hmm.
some strides, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you still don't have like a serious grasp of it, right?
Yeah.
So, when do you say, okay, it's time to turn our focus to something else that we really need help in because we really don't know how to do that? And how do we then support the other thing so it doesn't get dropped? But I say this to say that I don't even remember being taught how to look at what's happening in the classroom and to look past that affect, to go past and be curious. So I don't even remember that class in my teacher education program,
Mm-hmm.
much less in my professional learning since then. Like, teachers do not get support in how to, I don't like to say trauma informed because I like to say, like Dr. Sean Ginwright says, healing informed, because
I like
trauma
that.
informed focuses on the trauma, whereas
Yeah.
healing, how can I have an assets based lens looking at this student and lift up and amplify their strengths and build off of those to address whatever it is that needs to be addressed, right? And so I just feel like I think part of what is top of mind is how do we get all of the learning experiences to the people who need them, right? Whether it be to that parent who probably didn't even think about the fact that they're sending to their kid to the school compromise.
Compromised. I love it.
I'm just sleeping. They're sleeping. Because I mean, in the big scheme of things, it's like it seems pretty harmless, right? But at the same time, it's like, whew, this makes a difference, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. I think it's hard. I'm just talking about a whole bunch of different stuff right now. But you know, going back to being able to see children,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it takes, number one, the courage. To
Definitely takes courage.
takes the courage to say, pause. I don't care about your pacing plan right now. I need to check in with this kid.
Now you talking my language.
But if you're worried about, oh, I have 28 kids in my class and I can't spend all this time on this one kid. What do you think you're communicating to the 27 when you leave this kid who's struggling twisting in the wind? Right. And so I don't know that it always takes as long as we think it takes
Mm-hmm.
to listen to a child.
I'm gonna
Like,
let that breathe for a minute.
I don't know. I just,
Because a 2 minute check-in can go a long way. Yet
yes.
yesterday, and this was the start of my great day yesterday, right? One of my students mentioned to me that they hadn't completed an assignment,
Mhm.
and this assignment was due over a week ago now. 8 days. Yesterday made 8 days. And so she said it in the middle of class while I was teaching. And so I pulled her outside and I had a conversation with her. And I said, look, get it done. I just need to get it done. I had the student last year too. And I had a moment when I saw her this morning. I said, did you get it done? So I'm in the hallway on my duty. Did you get it done? She was like, well, no, because boom, 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 boom. And immediately, like I just went into that other mode. I said, wait, look, I know I joke with you all the time about this, and this, and whatever, whatever. I said, but wait, I understand you have those things going on, but I need you to get this completed. I said, because number one, you're better than that.
Mhm.
And when I said that, if you could have seen the look on her face, I said, you're better than that. I affirmed her a little bit more.
Yeah.
And after she walked, I said, now have a great day. I'll see you later. After she walked off, I felt like I wanted to cry almost
Mm.
because I knew what she didn't know was that that conversation touched my heartstrings. So
Wow.
going back to that check-in touches the heartstrings.
Yep.
They don't always have the language, and they don't always have that quick processing speed in their mind to understand the value of that quick check-in. Sometimes check-ins take a little longer, but something as simple as there's this practice, like we had this training called Capturing Kids' Hearts.
Mm.
Phenomenal presenter that I had this summer. It's one of the best PDs. It's probably the best PD I've attended since I've been working in this district, right? And so this practice is called Good Things. And you basically just go around the room telling the kids share something good. And sometimes I get to a kid and they're like, I don't know.
Mm.
And I was like, well, just think a little bit. Um, Man, and some of them are genuine. They like, I really don't know, Mr. Harris. And so what I'll get to do is I'll go with probing questions. Say, hey, can you hear me? Yeah, Mr. Harris, of course I can hear you. Can you see me? Mr. Harris, come on now. Um, can you use your hands, your feet? Yeah, duh. Where you going with this, Mr. Harris? That means you're alive.
Mm.
And then I go back and I say, now tell me something good. Because I always just say, you got to flip these things to your own version that fits your personality. And I'm just like, hey, Sean, tell me something good. Hey, Tanya, tell me something good. Rebecca, tell me something good. Ashton, tell me something good. And by the time I get halfway through the classroom, some of them, they're just like, I'm alive. I woke up this morning. And it's
Right.
like, yes. So back to that conversation about checking in with kids, we are thinking from the perspective of saving a life
Oh, right.
because these children are open up to so many things at such a young age. And so we do our best to be intentional with the things that we say. We do our best to be intentional with reading their countenance. We do our best to be intentional to say, even if it is that young person that gets out the car with whatever we see, smell, or hear in the morning. And sometimes it's just like, let me give this young person a hug,
Oh, yes.
especially at elementary school. When they get to middle and high school, by the time they're in high school, like where I'm at now, hey, look, let's have a quick conversation away from everybody. And the value in that, you and I both know sometimes they don't realize the value of it to the end of the school year. Some of them don't realize the value of it at the older ages. They don't realize the value of it till they're out of school or they're getting ready to graduate and things like that. And I believe something that you said earlier too when you were talking about your teacher preparation program, there are some things. Now mind you, remember I was a pure math major. So I had to go back and take all the pedagogy classes and things like that. And a lot of them I said, and I was like, whatever. But one of the things that I found myself saying a lot of times when I was going through my lateral entry program was, this does not prepare me for the different emotions, feelings, situations, and things that kids show up with in my class. Like this doesn't prepare me for the things that they're gonna show up in their backpack, that other backpack that's got,
Right.
the things that they go through in their personal life. And so for me, I always encourage younger teachers to let them know, like, that's one of the reasons why it's important for us to bring our whole selves into the classroom as a teacher. There are experiences that each and every teacher out there has that the next teacher can't relate, but there are also experiences that every teacher has that can connect with the student.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I've found myself many times over the years being able to have grace with the kid because I was there.
Hmm.
I knew what it was like my senior year, having to get up and get my three younger siblings ready for school and drive them 5 miles into town, if you will,
Mhm.
to take them to school. And so when I come in the first period, I don't want to hear a teacher that's just yelling at me and this and that, like the whole pencil thing. You don't have a pencil. You didn't come with your materials. That was nothing a few years ago. Now, if a kid just show up, in my mind, I might be thinking, where's your materials? Like, you didn't
Mhm.
bring anything.
Right.
You're here.
Right.
And so because you're here, I'm going to give you what I believe that you need, or what you tell me that you need for
Mhm.
this moment today.
Right.
What you need today might be, I got to be hard on you and fuss at you a little bit. Tomorrow, you may need me to love on you a little bit and encourage you and pour into you and all these different things. And it goes way beyond what we're supposed to teach on day 75. It
Right.
goes way beyond the fact that, oh, well, they're supposed to test on such and such date. Listen, I understand that, but there are a couple things going on here. I want my students to be more prepared for this assessment, because I understand how their score on that test or that assessment can affect their morale.
Right.
And I always want a kid to feel like, you know what, Mr. Harris, I appreciate you, because you're not appearing to be mad at me because I keep asking questions. You're not
Mhm.
appearing to talk down and focus on my deficiencies in mathematics.
Right.
You're building up on my strengths. And so now when I build up on your strengths more than I talk about your deficiencies, when we have to have a conversation about your deficiencies, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's in a setting with other teachers, or whether it's in a setting with parents, now this child hears these different things and they know at the core, Miss Black believes in me. Mr.
Right.
Harris believes in me. We might be that only person that has said something positive to them that entire day.
Right.
And we cannot take that lightly as educators. I'm so sorry, I didn't know that this conversation was going to go in this direction, but it must be needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And it's funny that you say that, because remember how in the last session I talked about how I never felt PBIS. I was like, I wasn't a big fan of it.
yeah.
And a lot of that really, I got stuck on the word intervention in the title, right? It was
Mm,
a positive behavioral intervention.
intervention system, I think.
And so I remember hearing this thing, this practice that you were supposed to keep 5 paper clips in your pocket and switch it over every time you said something positive to a student. And it wasn't until you've said 5 positive things that you could then address some um, behavior that needed to be addressed. And I remember rolling my eyes at that stuff, like, that's like the whole, give them a positive, hit them with the negative, and then sandwich it with another positive, right?
Right, right.
I, I hated the formula of it all,
Yeah,
right? But it absolutely makes sense. Like, tell me you see the good in me, but don't do it like on a superficial level, like not some, oh, wait, I gotta move a paperclip to the other pocket, but really, like, I want to get to know what this kid can bring, like what this kid brings to the table, right?
right.
And so, that all that to say that I understand the sentiment behind it, but even the ways in which we're taught to use these strategies
Hmm.
is so very kind of formulaic and superficial that if you're like me, you're gonna be turned off. You're like,
Absolutely. Me too.
like
Listen, I feel my same sentiments.
because that's not authentic. It's inauthentic to me.
Exactly. And they can see through, kids see through the bull junk these days.
Oh,
They
you have a
see
very
right
nice
through, and it
shirt
and
on.
they're seeing through it at a young age. And when I did that year at the elementary school, I was like, whoa. I don't know if it's this generation of young people, but they have an awareness to see whether we are authentic or not very quickly.
Yep, their bullshit radar is strong.
Absolutely. And I never want to discredit a child's potential because we never it's like that quote that says a kid will never they won't remember what you taught them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And so when they're going through these different challenges, like these challenges, to have a safe space or a person that they can come to and say, "Hey, Miss Black, I'm going through this today," or "Mr. Harris, I'm going through this today." I used to love when I was at Montera and
Oh,
our
okay.
hotheads.
Oh,
Um,
I was just about to share a story about one.
it was about to go down, and lunchtime, boom, 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 boom. You know, you just about to eat your sandwich, or you just got your food out the microwave. You sit back down to your desk, and you about to eat. Somebody comes in the door, and they on 12. Mr. Harris, look, I had to come in here because such and such doing this and da 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 da, and they got me messed up and da 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 da, and
I like
and
how
I
you
was
bring
so
that up.
grateful for I've been watching my cuss words tonight for whatever reason, but we do cuss on here. But I felt privileged for a young person to come to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Harris, I came to you because I wanted to calm down because I don't want to get into a fight. I just got back from a suspension." Um, and it's so interesting because that means that they feel safe. And it could be that, it could be other things. It's those challenges where you sometimes maybe even a kid's hygiene is not the best. And
Right.
so now you're curious. You mention it, you know, in general, so nobody feels centered out and things like that. But it goes back to you know, saying those positive things about them. That's one of the reasons why I tell them be amazing on purpose. We can always find a quick 5 to 10 things negative to say about this generation or these young kids, and y'all never, or y'all always, and y'all don't, and y'all are. But if you really took the time to see, to think about and say, I wonder how many, especially by the time you get later on in the day, I wonder how many other negative messages this young person has heard today.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times this kid has been told about their math deficiencies
Mm-hmm.
versus, hey, your effort is impeccable. Hey,
Right.
I notice you may not always get these questions correct, and you may not always answer it and show your work and things like that, but I applaud your effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell the kids, and thing is better than now thing. Mr. Harris, what that mean? Especially when I was at Montera and I was saying, they was like, Mr. Harris, that's that country shit again. And I'm like, anything is better than nothing. And so now, like, I think that effort goes a long way, and it comes from us as well. Like,
Right.
so many times, just the effort for us to acknowledge that we see something's going on. Kids are always amazed when I'm like, all right, ask a question. What do you mean? I didn't raise my hand. Yeah, but I could see the look on your face. Something I just said, where did you get stuck at? Oh, Mr. Harris, can you go back here? And I have a young person in my class right now, very mild mannered, very calm. It's that kid that you can easily overlook.
Mm.
They're not the squeaky wheel.
Right.
And it's interesting because I don't know if it's the gray hair growing in my ears or the
Not your
20 plus
ears.
years of loud music in my car or whatever. And I'm like, I have to kind of like get close up on them and excuse me, what'd you say? And I love it because there was a time where they wouldn't say anything. And now this young person is speaking at a very low tone, but I make sure that when they leave my classroom, hey, I see you. I appreciate the fact that you are engaged in the lesson. I appreciate the fact that you are giving effort. I appreciate the fact that you are bold and courageous to ask that question when you are confused. That tells me, number one, that you're serious about your education and you want to learn the information. And I never want a young person to have their growth stunted because I said something unknowingly that was maybe the 10th negative message that they've received today.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's it, like this this is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And we sure ain't going in here for the paycheck. And so I have in my mind, I told the students today, I said, my job and my goal, just who I am, is to leave y'all better than I found you. And they're looking like, what do you mean? Like, huh? I said, you came in here one way. Some of you I knew, some of you I didn't know. But when you leave here at the end of the semester, I want you to walk away with something way beyond learning how to solve a quadratic equation.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, I really don't care that you can solve a quadratic equation. I care that you leave with something to where you say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, man, I remember Mr. Harris, he planted a seed in me that I didn't even know was being planted. You know what I'm saying? I remember that time when I was going through a dark time. Maybe I lost a loved one, maybe something, whatever it may have, whatever the situation may be. Miss Black encouraged me. Every other teacher, they saw something. Maybe it was a physical appearance, but Miss Black pulled me to the side and was like, "Hey, I need to check in with you." You know what I'm saying?
You just bring up a memory. It was from my probably my second or third year of teaching. I got to follow a group of kids 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed them 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this little girl, like you said, somebody very kind of mild and, quiet and often didn't speak up. Very, very bright.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always very quiet. And then by the time we got to fifth grade, it was so interesting because somebody tried to mess with her and you just saw her give what she was getting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
She
like,
matched the energy for real.
oh, okay. And now it's funny because she is a life coach. And, she is somebody that, she'll sit up there and do a live. She'll have a conversation with the camera by herself. And she would I'm like, look at the presence on this one. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that, like you said, we don't always get the direct feedback. Mr. Harris, you made me feel better on a day that I was struggling. You saw
Right.
me, you heard
Right.
me, listened to me. And so it's just I feel lucky a lot of the time that I have somehow managed to stay in contact. And
Yeah.
thank God for social media because I'm getting my report card as a teacher 20 years later, right?
Whoa, that's a gem right there.
I mean, and so I can't even be mad for all the crap that we get on here, for all the mess that is comes across our path. And I don't get a lot of it because I don't click on stupid stuff, right? And so
Exactly.
when people sit up there and talk about how horrible Facebook is and how horrible their experiences are, I'm like, you telling on yourself because I don't get that stuff.
That's right. My algorithm ain't that bad.
My algorithm don't have all the OnlyFans showing up in
Exactly.
my feed.
Exactly.
When when I see somebody share some stuff that's a friend of mine, I'm like, I don't care to click on that.
Right.
No, just because I know you and I like you doesn't mean that I'm interested in everything that you put across my path, right? Anyway, the point being, I go this whole long, long way around to say that, social media has really given me the opportunity to see that even when I didn't know I was making an impact or didn't know that I didn't know what I was doing back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still managed to not mess up these games.
If anybody feel you, I feel you. And watching them on social media share their adult lives is such a beautiful thing. As you were talking about that, it made me think about I don't know if you remember Esley Cheeks.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Esley, such a great student, such a sweetheart. But when you talk about impact, I remember that was the year they were going to ninth grade. They were going up the skyline, right?
right.
Or dispersing to whatever high school they went to. But one day towards the end of the year, so Sasha and Esley were like, what did they call it when they were like peer helpers or
Oh,
something like that?
the IWs.
Yeah, yes. And I used to leave my phone on the desk, and Sasha and Esley would be behind my desk half of the time. And so one day I picked up my phone. I'm just going through my phone, and
Take a picture.
Sasha, Esley, and Minar, they left this video that
Oh
was
my God.
probably like 10 or 12 minutes long on my phone.
Of
And
what?
Esley started it off, and they were just telling me how much of an impact that I made on their life. And
Oh,
then it was almost like they were going to other like Esley started it, and I guess Sasha and Menard saw what she was doing, and they jumped in. I
oh,
never deleted that video. And it's so amazing because now they're all out of high school,
right.
in college and things like that. And when I see them on social media, every now and then I'll shoot them a message and things like that, just like, yo, it's good to see you thriving. The
Mhm.
one thing, and we'll start landing this plane, the one thing that I always brag about with working in Oakland Unified is that I don't believe I ever seen so many young people, so many students who are growing up in these different situations, and they acted a fool. They showed their ass at times, but it was like they knew in the micro, I might be showing my ass, but in the macro, I'm gonna be somebody. In
Mhm.
the macro, I value my vision, my goals, and I'm going somewhere. And we can often miss that as a teacher. We can take a snippet of their life while they're in our classroom and judge how their future is gonna be.
Right.
And so I encourage teachers out there, like, be mindful because you don't want to be a dream killer. You know what
Oof.
I'm saying? They've got a lot enough pressure on them. There's dream killers on their algorithm. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There's so much negativity on their algorithm and all these other different things. I don't want to be that teacher that interrupts their algorithm and causes some negativity and unknowingly plant a seed that rests there and grows. And then later on down the line, they realize, like, whoa, this negative thing that Mr. Harris said to me that day, it knocked me off my horse.
Right. Right.
And so, as we bring this to a close, I think that I can't even say what this topic was about today. I think it was another great conversation that we have. Um, but I want you to leave the people. Let's leave the people with some things that they can do as teachers, as educators, and maybe even for the parents that might watch this, for the students that might watch this, but strictly more gearing towards the adults. What would you say to teachers and educators and all the stakeholders on our side of the fence? What would you say to them for them to be mindful so that they can see that young person, so that they not a dream killer, so that they can uh start being more aware of how they're interacting with their students so
Mhm.
that they can actually plant a seed that grows and is beautiful like the palm trees that I love in California.
I think it goes back to identity, right? I feel like I would ask new teachers, old teachers, whatever teachers, right? Anyone that needs to re-examine like their existential crisis like I have today. Think about that thing that you struggled with as a learner, right? As a young person. Some teenage angst that you were experiencing, right? Like, and think about like how did an educator respond in that moment?
Mm,
Like it's going to bring up some memory,
mhm,
right? Like I'm going to give you an example. If I struggled with a certain math problem,
mhm,
right? Let's go back to fourth grade multiplication.
mhm,
The reason that I became a human calculator is because this nun would walk around with her yardstick hitting the floor. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2, you know what I mean? And it's like, that was not helpful to me in the big scheme of things. Yes, I learned my
Yeah.
multiplication tables, but did I learn how to think? Did I learn how to solve problems? Did I learn how to make sense of things?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so just really thinking about what is it that you struggled with or struggle with today?
Mm.
What's the origin story of that?
Mm.
How did somebody either build you up or make you feel like this was something that was just insurmountable? And then
Mm.
take that information and be like, okay, if that didn't feel good, or if that did feel good, how do I want to take that into my own practice? Because I just don't want to be, I don't want to make somebody feel like I felt, or I want to make somebody feel like I felt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have to think about how when we were on the receiving end of stuff. Because when we don't remember what that was like, and we don't process that mess, we're doomed to
Mm-hmm.
repeat it, right?
Absolutely.
Like we're gonna, like I hear people all the time, I hate math because and da 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 da. I'm like, but that's how you're teaching it right now.
Right. Yeah,
Teaching it in the
exactly.
way that was not useful to you and that you don't even understand. But you're gonna like regurgitate that mess. So anyway,
You
I just
starting a
really
whole
feel like
nother podcast.
put yourself in the feet in the place in the shoes of that little kid
That's it.
or that young person. And think about how you're talking to them and think about, would you like to be talked to in that manner? Would you like
Mm-hmm.
to be misunderstood in that manner? Would you
Mm-hmm.
like to not be heard and invisible?
I
That,
love that.
just what is that called? It builds your empathy muscle. Sometimes we
Yeah.
forget what it was like to not how to do things, not know how to do things.
Yeah.
We have to go back.
Yeah.
And so, anyway,
I what comes to mind hearing you say that, because I second all of that. Do you want to be a pesticide
yeah,
or a fertilizer?
right. Oh, tap, tap,
Pesticides
tap, tap,
kill
tap.
things. It kills the weeds in your yard. Pesticides kill the weeds. But if you, the little bit that I do know about lawn care, I do know this. When you spray pesticides like in the cracks of the sidewalk, notice it turns brown and then it slowly withers away, right? But fertilizer takes those same brown spots in the grass, and if you keep fertilizing them, after you pour down the fertilizer, you can't just pour fertilizer down. You got to water it,
Mm.
and then you got to let that rainwater come on it. And so I would encourage teachers to do a self check and ask,
Mm.
was this interaction with that kid, was I being a fertilizer or a pesticide to this young person?
That was
And
about
so as we
inappropriate.
as we wrap up this conversation, Monica, please do me this great big favor and share with the audience, whether they're watching this live or they're watching the replay, share with them how they can find you on social media and any other things that you may want them to pay attention to that you're doing out here.
So if you want to follow the celebration of the artistry and creativity of teachers, follow me on Inside the Teacher Studio. And if you want to see the shit starter, chaos creator, got a big mouth and not afraid to use it, that's one feisty female on Instagram. Thank you for letting me share
I stopped I have two Instagrams, but one of them I just recently started back going on to. I will not share that because there was a several year gap of one version of me and another version of me. But if you'd like to follow me, Young Gurus underscore math tutoring, and that's two G's, YOUNG GURUS. Also, this YouTube channel is really more dear to my heart because of all the different videos to where I share things that I've learned about mathematics and different strategies that can help kids. And so, Monica, as always, another great conversation with you. I look
that.
forward to our next time connecting and doing this.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
not bad for us not having our script together this week. But thank you so much for your time
Script.
and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You do
And
the
until next
same.
time, as I always say, deuces. Take it easy.
Later.